welcome to The View from Abroad, Season 2. I'm Teresa Norton, and this is the podcast where we look back on weekly newspaper columns I wrote between 1993 and 2000 on all sorts of topics. And what we're doing is we're unpacking it to see what has changed in the world and in ourselves in the past 30 years. And when I wrote those columns, I was living and working and raising a family in Hong Kong. And I now live in Lisbon, and that is where I met today's guest. She's one of Portugal's best-selling authors, Filipa Fonseca Silva, who has been just publishing her 7th book and working on another. She's the founder of Clube das Mulheres Escritoras. If I've said that properly, I'll check with her when she gets here. It's a women's writers club. It's a wonderful platform for mutual support among national authors promoting Portuguese literature written by women. Filipa is also a mother, and I'm looking forward to talking with her about the column that she chose and what's changed and what has not changed for all the working mothers out there. Working my way back to you, babe. I don't know. Maybe we're nuts, we working moms. There's this constant pull of attention that shifts back and forth between family and faxes, motherhood and meetings, kids and conference calls. I've just returned from a business trip, and 2 of the 3 women with whom I traveled have children under the age of 8. Not having taken many business trips, I wondered whether the other women had called home to talk to their offspring. My husband doesn't phone just to talk to the kids when he's traveling. Is it considered a legitimate business expense in the 90s? I'm not talking about the expense part so much as the business part. Perhaps I've seen too many movies where the heroine is interrupted in the middle of a meeting by a call about some domestic crisis, and the camera pans around the conference table, revealing an array of uncomfortable, exasperated expressions on the faces of the suits, and a triumphant gleam in the eye of the single iron maiden who's after the working mom's job. The kids are fine, I thought. It's 2 nights. I'm not on holiday. This is a business trip. Of course, I made that call. Hi, Sammy. What's up? Nothing. I miss you. I miss you too. Want to talk to Gracie? Well, yeah, but hang on for a second. How was school today? Did that tooth come out?
What tooth?
Oh, hello, girlie. I miss you. Silence. I tried again. Hi, Gracie. What are you doing?
Ninja Turtles.
Oh, right. Well, enjoy the show. I miss you guys, and I'll be home tomorrow evening, and click. Later that night, I met my associates for a drink, and eventually the conversation turned to our children. I was relieved when they both volunteered that they'd spoken with their kids earlier, and I was comforted that their children didn't speak back to them either. Times have changed, sighed a working mother of an 8-year-old daughter. When I was a girl, a long-distance call from a relative was a big deal. I'd wait in line behind my brothers and sisters, mentally cataloging in order of importance the news in brief of my young life. I called my daughter tonight, and all I got was, "I'm watching Snow White. Talk to Jessie." Was your son any more responsive? I asked, reflecting on my fleeting exchange with Sam. I don't have a son. Jessie is the cat. I spent 5 minutes on the phone with a cat. Dads may or may not feel the necessity to touch base with the family while they're on the road. I can understand how, even with a man of the 90s, this might not factor into their thinking. If I were traveling for an extended period of time and had to submit my hotel bill for reimbursement to a large company, a long-distance call home every night to talk to the cat might not be considered a legitimate expense by the corporate bean counter. Unless, of course, that bean counter was also the baked beans on toast maker. The ebb and flow of priorities that wash over the working mother are constant. We either regret the missed visit from the tooth fairy or the skipped business meeting. We never have it all. But I think that working with and for other women who face the same dilemma makes it easier. When I got home, my son had already lost that tooth. Literally. My helper figured he must have swallowed it. She improvised. They took a kernel of corn from the hamster food, and she coated it with Tipp-Ex. The tooth fairy was fooled, and my son found a coin under his pillow the next morning. My helper has a son. She's a working mom. We get by with a little help from our girlfriends. Filipa, welcome to The View from Abroad.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. We met at a creative morning gathering a couple of months ago here in Lisbon, and it was a wonderful talk you were giving, and it was really encouraging all creatives, but particularly speaking to writers, about how to overcome the things that prevent us from getting our message out into the world. You chose a column about the challenge of working mothers. And so in a little bit of reflection here, because the whole thing is looking back and looking at today, what is something that you feel has not changed in the 30 years since I penned that column?
For sure, the load that mothers still carry, even today, where supposedly men are more helpful. But I think the big shift must be not the help, but the dividing this load of the house chores and the children. And even today, I think women are more and more into various fields of working fields. So they are in politics, in arts, in business. They are CEOs and CFOs and pilots and generals, maybe. And still, they are the main caregivers of children, or when they don't have children, of their mothers and elderly relatives, family.
Yeah. I talk about not being able to have it all as a working mom. Do you feel that's still true today? Is that sort of that fear of missing out battle still going on? Are there any significant moments that you missed with your kids as a result of the work that you do?
No, I always prioritize my kids. And even before I became a full-time writer, I worked full-time in an advertising agency as a creative copywriter. And I had many opportunities to um, change jobs and get paid much better. And I choose not to, because the agency was walking distance from my house. Actually, I ride a bike to go to work. I would go with them in the bike, and I left them in their kindergarten, and then I go to work. I was able to have lunch at home, and when I got out, when the day was done, I went. I was able to, in 5 minutes, be there with them and go to the park and still have a lot of time to be with them. So I always prioritized them. But of course, it's you can't have it all. I could have been a creative director, or I could have earned much more, but I choose not to. So it's always a matter of you have to choose, and men don't. That's and it's still like that.
As referenced in that column, it was a new thing at that point for me to be traveling. And so in the column, I was feeling my way around this idea of being away from my kids. And, the idea, I was lucky because I worked in radio. I had kept the same hours as my kids. I kept the exact same hours. I went to bed at about 7:30 and I got up at about, 4:30 because I had to be on the radio at 6 a.m. Right. So I would get off and then I could come home and have lunch with my kids. But when I wrote that column, it was the first time I was really away for a while. And as an actress, I was rehearsing a play in France and I was away for almost a month. Oh, that was hard. Hearing that little voice down the phone it's a difficult thing. There's also the reference there to we get a little help from our girlfriends. That's like the last line of that column, right? And the fact that she was a working mother too.
Yes.
And I noted on your website that you have a beautiful poem that begins, now you'll have to correct my Portuguese, in early days of learning, but it's something like Mulher não tem acento na língua. And can you tell us a little bit about what that poem is about? Because it seems to be a perfect fit here.
Yes, it's a poem about it's like a call for all women to step up and be themselves, and don't think about what other things about you, and that women should always speak up and always cry for help if they must, because there's also this thing that we were taught to, is not asking for help, like it's your job to provide and to take care, and so you cannot ask for help, at least in our Western societies, of course, because in Eastern societies, in African societies, it's different. It's a lot about community and a lot about people helping each other, and women are like in this web of women that are there for each other. But here in the Western, we are taught to be perfect. We are taught that we can have it all, and asking for help, it's seen as weakness.
It's interesting because this is a topic that I was just discussing with some people last night, and there were men and women in the discussion, and I wonder if it's even more difficult for men to ask for help.
Yes, for sure. I think it's getting worse because of the social media and everything. We were always being bombarded with these images of this fake perfection, these perfect lives, and so it's equally difficult for both men and women. But women have this other level of difficulties of centuries of patriarchy, teaching them to be quiet, to calm down, to not make a fuss. If you speak too loud, you're hysterical. You're not supposed to fight. It's not fighting against other, but fighting for yourself.
There's a lovely line in there about not hiding yourself at home.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'll post it, and then people can, and also there's an English translation that is not as beautiful as the Portuguese, but it at least gives the idea of the poem, which is lovely. There's a lot of discussion now about the corporate environment and women helping women and making sure that you're putting a hand out there to help the women that are coming after you. I know that that's a big part of this wonderful organization that you've founded.
Until 2023, I didn't know many writers because I was not invited to festivals, to literary events. So
why was that? Why were you not invited?
Because there's a lot of bias in the literary world, and women are always seen as people. Women's literature, it's a genre, which is, for me, it's outrageous, because you have literature, and then you have women's fiction, and then you have chick lit, and then you have a lot of genres that you want to put women in, but you don't have the same for men.
Yes.
So men can write everything they want, and it's literature.
Yeah.
And women are always put in these boxes.
Right.
And if you're not if you don't come from the academic fields, or if you didn't win a prize, or if very literary critics never wrote about your books, you're just
ignored.
You don't have a chance. You don't get invited to anything. So at first, all those years until 23, I thought it happened only with me. I thought, okay, maybe I'm not that good of a writer, and people just don't like me, and it's okay. Let's move on. But then when I met other women authors, they felt exactly the same. So we start seeing this pattern of women being excluded.
Mm.
And so we created this movement. At first, it was just a monthly reunion, just for us to talk about these subjects. And we start asking other women writers to join. And almost all of them said yes, because they were eager to have this kind of sense of belonging and sense of, okay, I'm not out
I'm
of
not
the game.
working in isolation. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me ask you, is the common denominator there that all of the women in this group are writing in Portuguese or
Yes.
about Portugal? Because, you
Yes.
know, I live right next door to Parque dos Poetas. And
Mm-hmm.
so all of the little areas that have been dedicated there are to writers who wrote and write in Portuguese. And I don't see that many women.
You won't see many women, because
Yeah.
we don't study Portuguese women writers in school. We simply forget they exist. You can go through 12 years of school since you're a kid until you go to college and don't have contact with any woman writer. To people, to just tell me one woman writer, people probably will tell you a name of a children's book writer, never a literary writer. So we have this movement. It's about that too. It's not only for us to have this sense of community and help each other out, but also to show to the readers and to the public, when we go to public events, that there are several women writing very good books, and there were women writers that you never heard about, and they're amazing, and that something has to be done in schools, in libraries, even in bookshops.
And I'm going to say here also for mothers with daughters that are getting older, to introduce them and encourage them. Listen, I'm fascinated for you to talk a little bit about some of the stories that you've written, because when I was privileged to be sitting in that room when you were talking about your books. Let's take a little break, talk about that. When we come back, you can share a true story from your own life. Okay, here we are back again. And Filipa, can you please share a little bit about some of you 7 novels, children, you have written some children's book, so many essays and short stories. Talk a little bit about some of your favorite books.
Well, my favorite book is always the last book, the latest book, which in this case is The Women Behind the Wall. I just launched it a few weeks ago. And it's about a woman that for more than 15 years, she was a mistress to this married man. And it's a story about guilt and about this sense of you're not enough to have it all. And you should, women that stay in these situations because sometimes they have lack of self-respect, or they just don't believe that they deserve better than that. So I think we have many literature about adultery and these affairs, but it's never about the mistress. It's always about the wife that is cheated, or it's about the wife that is cheating, but it's never about the mistress, the one that, and this society that always blames women. You blame the wife because she was the one who didn't give enough attention to the husband. So that's why he went out to search for something new. And then you blame the mistress because she was like this...
A homewrecker.
Yes. And she's this beast. So man is always, oh, he's a saint. But he's the one who cheated. He's the one who had someone at home that he should respect. But somehow society teaches to hate women and to put women against each other, when in this case, we should blame the men. because he was the
Yes, it's
one.
interesting too, because in all cases, I'm just thinking about this. In every case, we don't look at the man being a victim in this, but we look at both of the women as being victims. The wife has been wronged, and the poor mistress is. I think there are probably some women. I know some women who prefer to date married men because they don't want the entanglement of marriage. They just want. So I don't know. It's an interesting topic to explore. But the
Yeah.
best part of the story, do you give away the story if you tell what the
Oh
title
yes,
means?
this is the part of the story that it's true. It's that this man at some point in the relationship, and this is the true story, he bought the apartment next to her apartment, and they tear down a wall and to join the two apartments, and so they lived like in this big apartment, the two of them. But when his family came to visit him, because this was in different cities, there was this fake wall to to close. So the mistress was behind the wall, always behind the wall, listening to him and his family in the other side. And this is disturbing for me. This is what
Mm.
uh, keep me up at night until I wrote this story. So all my books are, except one, Brave Green World, which is a dystopian novel, but all of my books are contemporary fiction. So I
Mm.
like to grab someone that you might know, someone who could be your next door neighbor, people that we always think that they don't have nothing to tell, but I'm fascinated with these small stories.
I'm reflecting on a quote. I can't remember who said it, and it was about men, but it could equally be applied to the women in your novels. And it says, "Every man has a public life, a private life, and a secret life."
Mhm.
And I think what you're getting at is the secret lives of these women that is not what's seen on the surface or assumed about them in terms of what a private life would look like.
Mhm.
Wow, that I'm fascinated. Is that book in English?
No, not yet. I have my first books are in English. You can find it in Amazon because after they were published in Portugal by a traditional publisher, I paid a translator to try and figure out if they would have some traction in the US market, and they did. I got to be the top 100 in sales at Amazon. So, but then it was like kind of a full-time job to do
Mm.
it. So I thought I have to write. So I don't have time for this.
Yeah,
So,
and there's
but
has to, I mean, if I know from my own experience the trust that you have to put into an editor, but a translator, boy,
yes, yes.
that's really handing your baby over.
But I have some of my books in other languages. One of my most biggest bestseller, "What If I Die Tomorrow." It was like one of the best-selling books in Rio de Janeiro book fair last year, and it's about a 80-year-old woman that has a sex life, and
Mm.
she goes to Tinder and everything. So it's very fun. It's going to be adapted to film. All my books have this very cinematic
Well,
approach.
isn't O Elevador?
Yes,
Yeah.
Vilvador. It's all already on YouTube, and you can watch
Mm.
it for free. It's a short film, 30 minutes, and you have subtitles if you cannot understand Portuguese. And also the Brave Green World is being adapted to a series.
Idea of particularly this one about the mistress behind the wall, you can feel how a series could unfold with that. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Okay, well, listen, thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna your website is www.Filipa Fonseca Silva, and we will also put that on the contributors website so that you can have a look at all of the wonderful work that Filipa has done. But now we're going to get back and find out what true story was stimulated by that column. Okay, Filipa, Please, I'm all ears. This is my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, so when I read this column, apart from all the things that we said at the beginning, that I still believe it could have been written yesterday because the troubles are the same. But for me, it reminded me of the first time I went on a literary grant to write. And even in the Women Writers Club, we asked each other, especially the ones that were mothers, if any of us would already applied for these grants that you can go for months, sometimes 2 months abroad or somewhere and just write. And nobody did. And everybody said, I can't because I have kids or I have parents or I have someone to take care. And when I applied finally to this grant, my husband told me, you should apply. And I could have chosen any time between 7 days or 40 days to be there. And I chose 7 days because I was afraid my husband wouldn't be able to do all the things for the kids, dropping them in school, dropping them in practice, go to the supermarket, make sure they have clothes for the practice and the school and everything, and the lunch that they take from home. And so I had the support. I had my husband telling me, go. And still, unconsciously, I had this barrier on myself to not be far away too long. Because what if I'm not there? And it's something that we jeopardize ourselves. And when I read that thing that when you call and they don't want to talk to you, you feel so guilty. And yes, it's like that because they really don't care. They're
I loved
fed.
it when my friend said I was talking to the cat for 5 minutes.
Yeah. But they don't care. They're in their lives. They're in their house. They're fed. It's okay for them. We make these excuses.
It is a self-inflicted wound, frankly, and part of it too, when we think about it, I mean, if we're going to be really, I'm just going to share my point of view on this. I think it's a little bit of, I won't go so far as to say narcissism, but it is this sense that the world will stop spinning on its axis if I'm not the one who's looking after everything.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, of course, it was very different for me. Of course, it was different. I had a woman living in who worked for years and my kids knew her, and that was a different situation.
Uh-huh.
But I can look at other things in my life where this notion that if I'm not there to look after it, it's going to go to hell in a handbag. And it's just not true.
It's not. It's something that we are taught we are taught from forever that we have to provide and we have to take care, and people don't know how to do the laundry and and the right way, our way.
Thank you. Exactly. There are 2 ways to do it. Well, there's only one way to do it, the right way, which is my way.
And then I was checking on my husband. Oh, are you okay? Is it being too hard? And said, no, it's okay. They're wonderful. Are they eating? Are they sleeping? And when I was there, and it was amazing to be all by myself and writing. It was in Prague, this grant. So it was beautiful. I've never been to Prague before. So in the morning, I would just go out and see this beautiful city. In the afternoon, I would write all day and all afternoon. And no time to eat, no time to sleep. It was amazing. And when I was coming back, I thought I should have applied for the 40-day grant. Why did I just apply for a 7-day grant? I was so stupid.
As I got further along and did more and more travel, my best friend in Hong Kong was because she passed away, sadly, from colorectal cancer.
Yeah.
But she traveled with her work too. And we used to talk about that wonderful feeling when you get to the airport and suddenly it's like, I'm not anybody's wife. I'm not
Yes.
anybody's mother. I am
Yes.
abroad.
Yes, that's the feeling. It's amazing. It's amazing feeling.
And to not have a guilt trip around that. I have to say, like, similar to your story, and thank you for sharing that. My ex-husband at the time, who traveled all the time with work, said to me, go, absolutely go. Do not worry. You should not feel guilty. He was not a big one about feeling guilty. I kind of brought that with me from childhood and could find a million
And
ways to feel.
sometimes we just miss them a lot. We miss our kids, so we project that they're missing us too, and maybe they are, but they're not sad, and they're just okay. They miss us, and they know that we will come back, and it's okay. But for us, it's like, oh, that thing that you said, oh, I'm missing the tooth that fell. Oh no. So
Yeah.
what? They have lots of other teeth to fall. So
That's right. There's plenty of teeth in that mouth to fall out. I love the fact that she took a piece of corn from the hamster cage and painted. That's so creative, right?
yeah.
A creative problem solver. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me, Filipa, and these wonderful, wonderful books. I'm going to plug your website again.
Mhm.
www.filipafonsecasilva.com. If you are a bilingual and a Portuguese speaker, you have a bounty of books to go through. If you are an English speaker, what are the titles of the 3 that have been translated?
30-something, Nothing is as we dreamed it would be. It's my first novel. Then you have The Strange Year of Vanessa M., also a novel. And you have Things a Mother Discovers and No One Talks About, which are chronicles about motherhood and pregnancy.
Fantastic. Keep up this fabulous good work you're doing of spreading the word and banging the drum for female writers in Portugal. And listen, if you've enjoyed the podcast, can I ask you listeners to please take a minute to follow, review, comment? That would help us out tremendously. And wherever you are in your life story, I want you to breathe all the time. Come up slowly. And if you're worrying about what's in the next chapter of your story, hey, what if it's good?